Welcome to the Respectful Divorce Podcast. If you're considering a divorce, it's important to know that you have options for how you divorce. On the Respectful Divorce Podcast, we explore those options and provide advice. I'm your host today, Tim Crouch, and we're talking with a member of the Florida Academy of Collaborative Professionals, Carlos Gutierrez. And we're doing this in advance of Divorce with Respect Week, which is coming up the first week in March. Carlos, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Tim. It's been an honor to be part of Divorce with Respect Week, and thank you for having me on the show.
So when we think about divorces, we think about the attorney. We sometimes think about the divorce coach or the mental health professional that's helping or divorce financial professional. You're not any of those things. What do you do in a divorce? What do you bring to the table?
Well, let me take a step back and say first, I'm the current president of the Collaborative Family Law Institute. So in the intro, we're doing this for the Florida Academy of Collaborative Professionals, which obviously encompasses the whole state and all of those collaborative practitioners. But in the Miami region, I am the first real estate broker, to answer your question, to be president of the Collaborative Family Law Institute. So you asked what I do. I mean, my job is really twofold. As president, I make sure that the members, which are the attorneys, the mental health professionals, and the financial neutrals, and then allied professionals like myself, have the best member experience so they're able to best engage, exchange referrals, understand each other's practices, and then best, as a result, best serve the clients and the consumers who need consultations on divorce. What I do, the second hat that I wear is, like I said, as a real estate broker. So I do the consultation of, what's the value of the property, whether, if it's a collaborative process, the entire team, including the couple, are going to discuss what do we do with the proceeds? Do we sell it? Do we keep it? So I give the consultation on that. And, if it's non-collaborative and it's, something like a litigation, I let you know how much you're fighting over. So I do the valuations. I consult on the marital settlement agreement so that it takes into consideration the real estate that may be involved in the separation of the family's assets. And, if the time comes, I hope they think of me when it's time to sell it.
So you are involved in the collaborative process, but you also get involved in litigated divorces, right?
Yes. And that's a really good point. I'm glad you bring that up because it's helped me see the contradiction of how nasty a litigation can become, whether it's divorce or civil, but let's just say in this case, a litigated divorce versus the most gentle, amicable, collaborative divorce. And I've been in the real estate industry since 2003 and focusing on legally complex situations like divorce since 2009. And I also testify as an expert witness in litigated matters. So that means, if it's really going downhill, the couple's at each other's throat and they're fighting over everything, including the real estate. I come in, give my opinion on how things should have been done or how they should be done, or the valuation of the property. And then the courts and the attorneys value that opinion and they hire me to come in. Now in collaborative, that is, it's obviously not necessary because there's no litigation, but I give my insight and my advice on what should be done as far as the property. If they want to sell it, if they don't want to sell it, that's a whole other route. But if they want to sell it, I help consult and try to stay ahead of the obstacles so that, I can see a problem way down the line so I can give them advice from the beginning to avoid that. So to answer your question, I've seen the worst of the worst in litigation so that I can kind of guide them towards saying, hey, speak to your attorney, speak to your mental health professional or your financial neutral, and let's consider a collaborative divorce because I've seen that be so much more effective and healthy.
So you are in a litigated case, you're hired by one side. In a collaborative case, you're a neutral, right?
Right. If I'm testifying in court, I'm definitely hired by one side. And it's my job to understand the fact pattern of the case and say what could be done better to have a better outcome for this one client. Now, if I'm hired to sell a house in a litigated divorce, then I just sell the house and I have to communicate equally and fairly to both parties, and not only the parties, but their attorneys. And I'm impartial and unbiased in that circumstance. But in a collaborative, I am not. I am part of the team in a sense that I give the feedback that's needed. I work directly with the clients, treat each one of them, fairly, and I communicate the way they want to. Sometimes in a collaborative matter, the couple is okay speaking to each other. I'll do the valuation of the property, and they're both there, and that's okay. And then there are the times where they're like, we're doing this collaboratively, but we still want to keep things separate. And then I'm fine communicating with one of the parties, one of the clients, and then the other client. And then it's just really, it boils down to how well you communicate with everybody, how they want to be communicated with.
And in most divorces, the house is the biggest asset, and probably some of the most difficult decisions have to be made around the house.
Yes, not only the difficult decisions, but I'd say the most impactful decisions. We see divorces almost at every, I don't want to say price point, but high net worth families and regular everyday 2-income families. And most of the time, the real estate is the most valuable and the most important asset to sell to help finance their lives to get them to the next phase. Even in high net worth situations, it's just more property. It's more expensive house or more investment properties to go along with any of the other assets that are tied up in the divorce. But it's always a very important consideration.
So at what point should somebody get you involved in their divorce case?
Well, almost like anything, earlier is better. But I think the first move should be, if you haven't already spoken with your mental health professional and you're getting counseling through this, the attorney is the natural first step. Sometimes they come to me and they ask for evaluation. If I already have a relationship, they'll say, we get these monthly valuations by email that are just kind of, we know it's a system, but we need you, an expert, a human, to look at the property and give it a value. Now, sometimes they'll tell me that, we need to move or something like that. Or if there's trouble with the relationship, maybe they'll tell me, but it's rare in that instance that I'm the first to know. The typical thing is for the attorney to be the first to know. And then the attorney will bring me in, hopefully, for the attorneys out there, try to bring me in before the marital settlement agreement is written. Because once it's set in stone and written and agreed upon, it's very hard to go back and massage things that contemplate the real estate. So I can see a problem from the very end and work backwards and say, don't forget, you're a family lawyer, you're a financial neutral. They don't think and contemplate the real estate the same way that I would, having seen these hundreds of times. So I can go through a long list of things that are potential problems, and I won't bore you with those, but I've seen them all. So I know how to work backwards and try to avoid them. And just give you one example. It's typically a couple that is selling the property. And if one is occupying, they're usually the more comfortable one there. They don't necessarily feel like, uprooting their things and moving, changing their expense pattern. So they can potentially make it difficult for me to sell because they're comfortable. So I see those things and I try to get ahead of them and be the most value to the attorney, but also protect the clients really from themselves.
And I guess one of those decisions along the way is how much house can I afford? And knowing that early is better from getting that sense of what you can afford.
Yeah, and I think one of the brilliant parts of collaborative is that everything is done with a team in mind. So I can give them some advice on what they can afford on the outbound. But when it comes to those things like numbers and qualifying and even how to write your marital settlement agreement so that you can most properly and easily qualify for the next purchase, we bring in professionals. We have other professionals that are maybe on the mortgage side, but are collaboratively trained and have seen hundreds of these. And that's the best part about the collaborative is I can do one thing and I stay in my lane. I do it well, and I know when it's time to bring in another professional or say maybe this is a question for so and so.
So we're doing this ahead of Divorce with Respect Week. What should somebody expect during Divorce with Respect Week?
Well, I would love to answer that question on 2 tracks. One for the professionals who touch in the divorce world in any way, whether it's an attorney, financial neutral, mental health professional, allied professional like me that does real estate. We also have members that do valuation on boats, on jewelry. Our vice president is a education professional for kids with special needs. So any professional who touches in the world of divorce, we want you to volunteer for Divorce with Respect Week. And what you'd be volunteering for is 3 30-minute pro bono sessions to give a consultation to a consumer, somebody who's been thinking about divorce and may have questions. So that's what we look for in our professionals. It helps you get out into the world and keep talking about collaborative. And then the other track that I would like to talk about is, a person. If you're listening to this, or if you've been fortunate enough to hear about collaborative, get with one of our professionals, take us up on one of those consultations and ask the questions of why collaborative? Why haven't I heard more about this? Why should I hear more about this? And why should I consider that versus, stepping in the ring and duking it out with my ex?
Yeah. And probably two other things. One is, it is not just Divorce with Respect Week in general. It is Divorce with Respect Week in Florida. You've been able to secure a proclamation declaring it to be Divorce with Respect Week.
Yes. So for the second year in a row, I actually just left the meeting a couple hours ago. Senator Ana Maria Rodriguez, fantastic champion for families in Florida in general, has focused a lot of her career on protecting families' ability to live the American dream and buy real estate, own real estate, and have their rights protected. And she has, in that spirit, become a champion for collaborative divorce. So she had a proclamation declared last year, as well as sponsoring one this year, proclaiming throughout the state of Florida Divorce with Respect Week, as you said, March 1st through March 8th. And she has been a champion at the Florida level. So we're hoping this reaches all corners of Florida, all people who are interested in learning more about it, and all professionals who have a curiosity in practicing collaborative divorce.
Matt. And Carlos, if somebody wants to get a hold of you and talk with you about some of those kind of real estate questions, what's the best way to do that?
We're on social media everywhere as GG Miami RE. It's just an abbreviation for Gutierrez Group Miami Real Estate. We also have a little bit of presence on Instagram in our collaborative group. It's Collaborative Divorce Miami. That will eventually find me. But I'm sure wherever at the bottom of this podcast, you can put some contact information, and I would love to hear from anybody. And as I said, I'm the president of the Collaborative Family Law Institute, so it doesn't have to be about real estate. If you want to touch any of the topics, I can connect you with any one of our professionals, and they can answer the question. I can guide you to the right place to go and get all your questions answered.
Okay. Carlos Gutierrez with us today on the Respectful Divorce Podcast. For those of you watching us online, thank you for joining us today. This important programming note, Divorce with Respect Week is coming up March 1st through 8th, 2026. During Divorce with Respect Week, you can talk with divorce professionals, lawyers, divorce coaches, divorce financial experts for free to learn more about the divorce process and your options. Simply go to divorcewithrespectweek.com to find a professional near you. Divorce with Respect Week, March 1st through 8th. And once again, that website, divorcewithrespectweek.com. I'm Tim Crouch for the Respectful Divorce Podcast, reminding you that collaborative divorce is a better way to untie the knots.